FDA is planning to end most of its routine food safety inspections, according to CBS News. That's cool.
Who this morning is putting our food safety system under the microscope.
It's from the 90s.
In 1993, it was Jack in the Box hamburgers. 4 people died.
Health officials expect to see more young victims.
In 1998, it was hot dogs. 14 people died.
I didn't need to see that kid eat the hot dog. That was fucking gross,
spinach.
man.
E. coli linked to tainted spinach.
2008, peanuts. 2018, romaine lettuce. Last year, boar's head.
Boar's Head is recalling 9 types of deli meats.
Every year, some of the food that's supposed to keep us healthy winds up killing people. What's going on?
I mean, I hate to just keep saying it's complicated, but it's complicated. You know, what causes problems and what needs to be done to fix them.
Mike Taylor has spent his entire career trying to make food safer.
I don't think people understand that, like, the fact that every time there's an outbreak or like a sickness breakout or whatever from tainted food, the fact that every time that happens is a big news story is a really good thing, because it doesn't happen often. This shit used to happen all the time, like constantly. Like, it was just life. People just died for no reason, basically, just all the time, you know? It's exactly the same as the vaccines, you know? You get used to how good things are when you have them. You forget why you need them.
I've led the food safety programs at both FDA and USDA.
Can you give us some context for these foodborne illness outbreaks?
Well, it's this familiar litany of 3,000 deaths annually and 48 million illnesses. But it's just hard to measure and quantify.
15 federal agencies plus state agencies oversee our food system. The
Europe is better about this? Yeah, we have pretty bad food safety laws for the most part.
USDA regulates meat, poultry, eggs, and, weirdly, catfish. The FDA covers about everything else. In 2011, Mike Taylor helped pass the Food Safety Modernization Act, which tries to prevent outbreaks before they happen.
Congress and the administration simply haven't funded the implementation fully, but it was clearly a big step forward.
The bacteria that make us sick mostly come from beef, poultry, and produce.
It used to be, Jack in the Box, that beef was something we worried about.
When that happened,
You saucy little devil, you. I see what you did there.
we made a decision to simply declare that no longer would that particular kind of E. coli be lawful in ground beef. And that had a big effect because the meat industry collaborated among themselves, came up with technologies to really minimize that risk.
But when the USDA proposed a similar regulation for
So only chicken, beef, and produce, what's left, man? Rice and beans. Rice and beans is left. You want to live a healthy life? Rice and beans. Lentils? Yep.
chicken, industry lobbyists said it would be too expensive.
The trade associations, the lobby showed up and essentially stonewalled the USDA going forward.
Rice and beans are produce? Nah. Then why aren't they in the produce section, dumbass? They're in the ethnic food section. If you're in a grocery store outside of a major city, and inside of a major city, they're in the section that says rice and beans. Produce has like green stuff in it.
With this,
according to the USDA, 7% of all raw chicken parts and 27% of all ground chicken are contaminated with salmonella.
Cool.
And there's no law against shipping it that way. But now we come...
Well, that's why you have to cook the chicken, right? That's the whole point of having to cook the chicken. I don't know what kind of like processes you would need to produce salmonella-free chicken.
To the big one, produce. Almost half of...
In other countries, it's illegal to ship it that way. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that. I just assumed that salmonella was more or less like an inherent risk of poultry meat. It didn't really occur to me the idea of like, no, that's just in America because we don't bother to clean it out. So you can just have like raw chicken elsewhere?
All foodborne illnesses come from fruits and vegetables because, after all, we don't cook most of it before eating. The 2006 spinach outbreak was a wake-up call for the farming industry.
September of 2006, FDA said, do not eat spinach, right? And that literally affected every grower, provider of spinach in the country. So California said, we need to do something from a food safety standpoint.
And that's how the Leafy Greens Marketing Agreement was born, a coalition of farmers overseen by the California Department of Food and Agriculture who've agreed to adopt food safety protocols sooner and more stringent than the government's. 94% of the nation's leafy greens are covered by this agreement. Tim York is the CEO.
It sounds like these farmers are, in essence, saying, hey, let's impose rules on ourselves.
That's exactly right. Yes, which is...
And that's how you know that the system is functioning correctly, right? When in the absence of government regulation, corporations are trusted to self-regulate?
Kind of anathema to how they normally think, right?
Yeah.
We have to do it. You know, any kind of outbreak is detrimental to our industry.
Jack Vesey is a fourth-generation produce farmer. On the day we visited his 10,000-acre farm in Southern California, his team harvested nearly 500,000 cabbages.
I take this produce to my family every night. I give it to my friends.
So you can walk over here and just eat that without washing it?
In this case, it was about liability. Hey, you know what's even more cost-effective than self-imposing regulations to avoid legal liability for people who get infected? Lobbying the government to make you legally immune to lawsuits over your bad food. If we're talking about liability, the straightest route to financial success is just to immunize yourself against legal consequences for your fuck-ups, not to stop doing the fuck-ups, which is essentially what's happening now, right? Under Trump. If the FDA isn't doing regular food inspections anymore, then who the fuck cares? How could you even trace, like, the outbreak to anything, basically, you know?
I do.
Can I?
Well, you don't have a hairnet. No.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Just a little baby fresh one here. Take that
Thank you, man.
That's great.
Tastes like safety.
This is corporate propaganda, by the way. Don't buy any of this bullshit, okay? This is like, wow, corporations are being so proactive by self-regulating. Isn't it great? Look, wow, so trustworthy. This. Also, they're farmers. Hitler writes.
If I was a farmer 25 years ago and teleported here...
Well, if my dad was here today, he'd probably think, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing now? You know, the tissue sampling, the water testing, the treating of the water.
The LGMA rules require sanitizing the irrigation water, testing it at the source and at the spraying end, hairnets and gloves.
Isn't it super cool that that's not, like, federally regulated to begin with? Like, yeah, corporations decided to one-up the government, and they were like, we're going to make sure that it's not poop water that we spray the cabbages with. Because before we were using poop water, and that's legal too. But, like, now we're going to make sure there's no poop in the water.
Knife disinfectant.
For traceability's purposes, you guys...
And at least 6 times a year, inspections from state auditors like Nancy
Not anymore.
Howdy.
We're checking for any kind of environmental risks. In addition to that, there's an interview portion where I'm interviewing several crew members.
Vesey's farm even holds mock food outbreak drills twice a year.
Our food safety manager will call our office and say, recall this field, this block. I need answers. And I can tell you who was in there, what fertilizer company, what seed company, what crew was in there, everything within 30 minutes. Because stopping a truck or bringing that product back and recalling as quick as possible is very important.
All right, so despite all of this, outbreaks still...
Wouldn't it be in the farmer's self-interest to make sure their customers aren't dying? You'd think that, but crazily enough, no. Even if you assume that farmers act in the rational self-interest of their company, which, let's be real, business owners don't do that shit. Yeah, there's always more customers. But they'll take that risk. I mean, like, why do drivers speed to get to a place like 90 seconds faster when it increases the likelihood of them getting into an accident by like 400%, you know?
Happen. So why are they still happening?
Outbreaks may occur because we are growing product outdoors. You know, some bacteria just occur naturally within an environment. They just exist. And so...
It just spontaneously develops. Or going back. It just, yeah, it spawns in.
We control as much of the ecosystem as we can.
Of course, you can't control every variable outdoors.
before they walk into this field to start harvesting this cabbage, what they'll do.
We need to start like investing in. I've seen. I think I saw this thing built in the UK. These like mega greenhouses where I think it was like something like 90% of all the tomatoes made in the UK were made in like these 4 buildings basically, and they're like super efficient vertical farming stacks. I don't know if you could do that with all produce. I don't really give a fuck about cabbage, but I don't know. Seems like kind of a massive waste of land. All this stuff being grown in like a, you know, big flat, so on and so forth.
Do is walk around the field and look. If there's bird dropping, they would remove this entire block from production or harvest because
I don't think that's true. Those greenhouses require a lot of energy. Sure, but these farms require a lot of land, right? I mean, like if we're talking about like land use case, like efficiency wise, also like the space efficiency, and water too, yeah. The space efficiency of being able to constrain everything, you know? Vertical farming is crazy inefficient and just a tech bro fake solution to real problems. I don't think that's true, though.
That's a potential risk.
And so, as 2025 dawned, that's where things stood. Beef contamination largely under control, chicken still no law against salmonella, produce farmers controlling the parts of the process they can control. And then this happened.
Tonight, federal cuts are prompting a warning about food safety.
Everywhere you look, the ability of the agency to do this fundamental job will be impaired.
The Trump administration has fired 3,000.
I'm sorry, I'm looking. Not all crops can be grown vertically, obviously. High initial cost, specialized equipment, okay. Can be energy intensive. I don't know, I feel like at the very least, it could be done more than we currently do it, right? Like, we could be doing it in some cases. The sun is free. Yeah, that's true. For now. I don't know, it seems kind of cool. Europe's biggest vertical farm. It's like one big facility.
Norfolk, Britain's breadbasket, home to some of the most fertile agricultural land in the country. But here in this industrial building, they are trialling a prototype of what might be tomorrow's breadbasket. This is Farm 2 of Fisher Farms, and it's Europe's biggest vertical farm, producing tons of crops inside 365 days of the year.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next
environment, everything tailored to the needs of the plants, in this case, basil.
So this is the seeding process that's over here. So the seed trays go from here, and then they get put onto these trolleys, and these trolleys then get transferred up into the germination zone up there.
Wouldn't this be a good way to bring manufacturing jobs back, except instead of factories, it's like food factories? Because right now, all of our domestic agriculture work is being done by immigrant slaves, which seems not great, like, as a system. I don't know.
So this is our germination room.
When we visit, it's full of chive seeds, left to germinate in temperatures of around 26 degrees and 100% humidity. After a few days, they're ready for more intensive lights in the main growing tunnels. This is the beating heart of the vertical farm, 12 levels high, each bathed in bright LED lights, which also provide the heat. It's an incredibly efficient way of turning out lots of food. Right now it's basil, but the ambition is to grow much more than simple herbs.
As our systems get cheaper over time because we have access to lower cost electricity, as our lights become more efficient, as our automation levels improve, it allows us to shift from the high value products, the short leafy green salads.
I guess my thinking on it is just that we've basically been doing regular land farming for like 10,000 years, and we've gotten pretty good at it, like tech-wise. And we've only been doing vertical farming for a little bit, and maybe if we did it a bit more, we could get like really good at it, you know? Maybe we could find a way to do it that would be like super efficient.
And herbs to fruity products like strawberries and blueberries and raspberries, and then
Please don't buy this bullshit. It's tech bro pumping money, insanely inefficient, and produces food without taste. I don't think that's true. I don't think that makes any sense. What? I don't think that's true at all. I think you're just saying that. What do you, I think you're engaging in like a naturalism fallacy, aren't you? Like the idea that a food item must be better if it's produced out like in the traditional way rather than here. Probably not. Vertical farming requires lights and power. Non-vertical farming uses the sun. That's the biggest issue. Yeah, but you could probably save on that cost, right? Like way less labor more efficient use of water and fertilizer and stuff in here, like less land use, of course. No, not even close. I don't think that's true, especially as power gets cheaper. Eventually, power is going to be basically free, assuming that the species doesn't end, you know? Like, we have the technology to more or less basically supply the grid all the time forever. I don't know.
Finally, to the actual goal of Fisher Farms, which is rice, wheat, which are 52% of human calorie intake comes from those two products alone, and then soy and peas, which are fantastic protein substitutes for meat.
Whether it feels like a vision of utopia or dystopia, there's certainly a compelling case that this might just be the future of farming.
It looks like we could be pretty much anywhere. Actually, technically, we are in Norfolk, so traditional farming territory. But that's kind of the point of vertical farming. It's about eliminating the outside world with all of its environmental problems, all of the climate, all of the pests, and creating the perfect area for plants to be growing. And while this may feel a world away from traditional farms, they hope soon here to be growing wheat. In other words, the kind of crop that every farmer would like to grow here inside.
35.
Wasn't this supposed to be on the FDA no longer doing inspections? It's not yet clear whether vertical farming is an overhyped, premature, expensive business model that can still change the world someday, or whether it's just a dumb and impractical idea. Its biggest immediate problem is that it's a ludicrous energy hog, because even though LEDs are way cheaper than they used to be, they're way more expensive than sunlight. Source? I did some back-of-the-envelope math with one disillusioned investor. We calculated that indoor farms like the one he had supported would require every megawatt of America's current renewable energy production just to grow 5% of America's tomato crop. That seems a little cynical, in my opinion. Lots of indoor farms are shutting down as their businesses struggle, so why are more being built? Why are we, when did we become such goddamn cynics, man? Can't we, like, explore the potential? What if one of them finds, like, a good way of doing it? Greenhouses use sunlight to trap heat inside the building? Okay, well then they should do that. I don't know. You should check out agroforestry. That sounds gay. So is this fine then? Is this legal then, your highnesses? They went back to regular greenhouse because they were more efficient? Sure, then make a vertical greenhouse. 15 states had an E. coli outbreak with lettuce. Oh, right, the FDA thing that the FDA did not tell the public about. Deadly E. coli outbreak hit 15 states, but the FDA chose not to publicize it. And this is under the new Trump regime? Yep, it's from today. Ripped across 15 states, sickening dozens of people, including a 9-year-old boy in Indiana who nearly died of kidney failure, and a 57-year-old Missouri woman who fell ill after attending a funeral lunch. One person died, but chances are you haven't heard about it. The FDA indicated it had closed the investigation without publicly detailing what had happened. Wow, that's actually really bad. It was a fatal outbreak, and they just full on did not. This administration is pro-disease. Dude, they're all Moloch worshippers. It's crazy. It's insane. It's like, I cannot, dare I say it? It's like worse than the Nazis, man. I don't know. I feel like Hitler's cabinet would have been like, it's probably bad if the citizens get poisoned. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's a mix of like fascist anti-government intervention such and such with like wanton evil and incompetence. I have no idea. No, the Nazis were massive eugenicists that left people to die. I'm banning you for being reflexively contrarian and not engaging with the actual point that I made. That has nothing to do with what I said. You just wanted to say things, which I sympathize with. I often also want to say things, but sometimes saying things goes too far. Look at Hitler, for example. Don't you mock me, Thana.